Hare Krishna. So we will dedicate our session to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who is the founder Acharya of ISKCON. I would like to pay my obeisances to His Holiness Gopal Krishna Gosai Maharaj and His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. We are on chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita, titled as Purushottam Yoga, or the Yoga of the Supreme Person. It has 20 verses in it, part of a Gyan Yoga section. We further divide this chapter into 5 sections. Verse number 1 to 6. Last time we learned that how this material world or this material manifestation was compared to a tree that was upside down tree, because it's a reflection of the spiritual world. And to get out of this material world and go to spiritual world, the eternal abode of Sri Krishna, we have to cut it by an axe, and that axe is detachment. And we have to sharpen that axe with determination. So we have to be very determined in following our devotional service practices. This will lead finally to surrender unto the Supreme Lord. And in 7 to 11, we learned that if we don't surrender, we don't develop this detachment, and we continue with our material activities of sense enjoyment, then what will happen? We have to transmigrate. We have to change one after another our bodies, sometimes getting a body of a dog, a hog, a bird, insect, or animal. But this thing will keep continuing. And in verse number 10 and 11, we learned that if we have the eyes of knowledge, Gyan Chakshu, then they are called as transcendentalists. And then these transcendentalists, by the eyes of knowledge, they can actually see that we are transmigrating. But the foolish persons, they cannot see because they are not self-realized. They don't know anything about the Atma Tattva. That's why these people are not able to see. So now in the next section, Krishna says, okay, if they don't have Gyan Chakshu, they are on the material platform, they are not on the spiritual platform, then can't they reach to Krishna? Krishna in 12 to 15 says they can also begin their Krishna consciousness. And how can they begin their Krishna consciousness? They can begin their Krishna consciousness by appreciating Krishna's position as maintainer in this world. So from verse 12 to 15, we will learn about this. And from 16 to 18 is called as Tri Shloki Bhagavad Gita, because it is actually the summary of the Vedas. It is the essence of the Vedas. So that's why it is called as Tri Shloki Bhagavad Gita. And after knowing the essence of Vedas, Krishna in verse number 19 and 20 says that if somebody knows Krishna, then he need not know anything. It means that he knows everything, because knowing Krishna, he knows that he is servant of Krishna and he will perform devotional service and go back to Krishna. And that is the essence of Vedas. So he will be in actual following the purpose of the Vedas. So this way, this chapter flows. So verse number 12 to 15, appreciating Krishna's position as the maintainer in this world. So in verse number 12, Krishna says that the splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of this whole world, comes from me. And the splendor of the moon and the splendor of the fire are also from me. So we all know that in Vibhuti Yoga chapter 10, also Krishna tells so about his many opulences. There also we learned that he is Aditya, he is sun among the Aditya, something like that, and he is among the stars, he is the moon, and so many things. So here also he is highlighting that if one can appreciate Krishna's position, that Krishna is maintaining us, we will not be able to live this life in this material world if Krishna is not behind every arrangement. So when Krishna is putting us in this material world, he makes all possible arrangement so that we can survive in this. It is his mercy. We will learn how Krishna is merciful to us, that he is maintaining at so many levels. So here he is maintaining us at cosmic level, because we know that this material world requires sun we learned in the last section, it requires moon, but there is no sun and moon in the spiritual world because this material world is dark. That's why Krishna made the arrangement of the sun, and every universe has its own sun. There are so many universes, but particular universe will have only one sun. And Krishna says that whatever heat, energy, and light which we receive from sun, actually he is behind that. The splendor of the sun is he. And we all can appreciate the importance of sun in our life. As soon as sun rises, our activities start. There is light all around. Darkness goes away. And then we start our day-to-day activities. We all know that sunlight is responsible for the process of photosynthesis, by which we will get grains, leaves, vegetables, fruits to eat. If sun is not there, we feel so like, what will happen if sun doesn't come for so many days? There are so many places where there is no sun. So it becomes difficult when sun is not rising. And this is the importance of sun. So if we can appreciate that it is the mercy of Krishna that he has provided with us with sun, then we can at least begin our Krishna consciousness. And then he also says, I am the splendor of the moon and splendor of the fire. So fire is giving us heat. And as soon as we get up, we use fire. We use fire to prepare our food and all. And in factories, fire is responsible for so many activities. So fire is also so important for our life. And what about moon? In the night, when moon is there, then we all know that whatever that juice which is there in the fruits and vegetables, it is due to the moonlight. Moonlight is responsible for making things tasty so that we can eat them, we can enjoy them. So now we know the importance of sun, moon, and we know who is behind that. Krishna is behind that. We, like scientists may sometimes say that they may explain so many mechanisms of photosynthesis, this, that, but they don't know that these mechanisms has been arranged by Krishna for us. That's the importance. And similarly, going to the verse number 30, he says, now I am who is entering into each planet. And my energy, they are staying in the orbit. I become the moon and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables. So we all know that as Shirodakshai Vishnu enters each and every atom of this universe, like the plenary expansions of Krishna are Mahavishnu, then Garbhodakshai Vishnu and Shirodakshai Vishnu. So this Garbhodakshai Vishnu is responsible for particular universe, and from Mahavishnu all the other universes are coming, and then Shirodakshai Vishnu is the plenary expansion which goes into each and every atom and every living entity. So Krishna is maintaining the entire universe by these three Vishnu expansions. So Krishna is saying, I am the person who is entering into each of these planets, and they are able to stay in their orbit due to my energy. We all know that there are different planets and they are moving around in their particular orbits. They never collide with each other, and they are always there in the orbit. Scientists may explain so many phenomena like gravity, etc., by which the planets are there in the orbit. Okay, mechanisms can be explained, observations can be seen, but we have to see the hand of Krishna behind these mechanisms also. Okay, so this is the point. And we all know, like Prabhupada gives in the purport one example. If we are holding a like handful of dust in our fist, as long as we are holding, it's there. Okay, as soon as we just open our fist, the dust will spread and it will fall to the ground. Similarly, by the disciplinary expansion, this fist of the universal form of Krishna, it is holding all the planets in his fist. So all the planets are staying in the orbit due to the energy of Lord Krishna. So that is the importance. And then about moon, we have already discussed that moon is responsible for giving juice to all the vegetables. And when we eat all these delicious fruits and vegetables, we can remember that the splendor of the moon is coming from Krishna. and then we can start our Krishna consciousness. So these two verses explains about that. So now we can see that Krishna is maintaining each and every living entity at cosmic level. Now Krishna not only maintains us at cosmic level, in the next verse he says, I'm maintaining each and every living entity at personal level also. So verse number 14, he says that I am the fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities, and I join with the air of life, outgoing and incoming, to digest the 4 kinds of food stuff. So we all know that in Ayurveda it is told that there is fire in our stomach, and when that fire is there, we feel hungry. And if the fire is not there, we don't feel hungry. If there is disturbances in our digestive system, we don't feel hungry. So some fire is responsible, and these airs are moving up and down to help us digest the food. And wherever there is disturbances in the pran vayu, these airs and all, so many other indigestions and all other problems sprouts. So Krishna is saying, I am that fire which is digesting all food in our body. We know that in the previous verse we learned that Krishna is responsible for giving us the food, because sun is making the food stuff by photosynthesis, and then moon is making them tasty and all. So he's first of all giving us food. Then without the help of Krishna, we are not even able to digest the food. So for digestion also, Krishna is saying, I am responsible, because in this verse, a word is used called Vaishnavar, and that Vaishnavar is the deity which is responsible for digestion. It manages the digestion in the body of the living entities. And Krishna is saying, I am giving that energy to that Vaishnavar to digest all the food stuffs. And Prabhupada, the purport discussed that there are 4 kinds of food stuffs. We all know some food stuffs, they can be sucked, they can be licked, they can be drunk, or they can be chewed. But Krishna is saying all these different types of food I digest by my energy. So again, we can appreciate that Krishna is so merciful. He is giving us all the mechanisms to maintain ourselves. Like doctors may make so many artificial things now, like knee replacement. They have made so much ventilator machines and all, artificial lung and artificial heart and all, to maintain the body which is dying. But we all know that on machines, the body cannot live for long. And these machines are so costly that we are not able to afford them. So artificially, if we try to create the systems which Krishna has built in us, it's very, very difficult. And digestive system is the most complex. Nobody has ever made a system of digestion as an artificial digestion is not possible, because the digestive system itself is very, very complex. So Krishna is behind that mechanisms also. So we can appreciate that Krishna is maintaining us. Now, in the, like, after telling this, that Krishna is the maintainer at personal level, at cosmic level, he is doing everything for us. Now, Krishna not only cares for our maintenance alone. Krishna wants us to go back. So he wants us to elevate. He works very hard, or he strives, or he wants us to engage in spiritual activities and go back to him. So for that also, he is giving us something. And what he's giving us, we will discuss in the next verse. That is, yes.
This digestion fire is the Jataragni, that hydrochloric
acid?
Yes.
Jataragni, which is described in Ayurveda. So Krishna is saying, I am that Jataragni, and Vaishnava is the deity, like everything is a deity behind. So in this verse, Vaishnava is the deity, and Krishna is saying that power of that deity is coming from me, Jataragni. Okay, somebody would like to recite this 15th verse?
I will recite, Matul.
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो मतः स्मृतिर्ज्ञानम् अपोहनं च वेदेश सर्वैर् अहम् एव वेद्यो वेदान्तकृत वेद विद एव चाहम्. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Bhagavad Gita 15.15.
So Krishna is now telling that I am giving the Vedas, and through Vedas I am giving the knowledge. And why Krishna wants to give us knowledge? To study scriptures so that we can get knowledge, so that we can go back to him. So Krishna's only purpose is not that he just maintains us in this material world. Okay, I will provide all the facilities you want to enjoy. He says, okay, I'll provide them. But at the same time, Krishna has given us the Vedas, and he wants us to use those Vedas to know the purpose of the Vedas and ultimately leave this material world and go back to him. So now here in this verse, we can see there are two parts. In the first part, he's saying that I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So here again, we can see that we all know Krishna as an expansion, Paramatma is present in everyone's heart. And when we leave this body and get a new body, so the soul will forget everything. Soul doesn't remember. But because Paramatma accompanies us, and he has registered all the activities of our soul when we were in this body. So when we get a next body, who will remind us? So Paramatma reminds us. Paramatma gives us the required remembrance and memory to start our activities again, depending on our karma. Suppose we get up a body of a dog. Now, how a soul will know how to act in the body of a dog? So for that, Paramatma is guiding that. Everybody, like according to our karma or whatever we want to act. So Paramatma is making. So we can, in this context, we can also remember that when we say Neha Bikamanashu Asti. So whatever spiritual activities we have done in our previous life, we continue from that percentage in our next life. So if we see some devotees or some kids, they are very good at playing Mridanga from their early age, or they are devoted to Lord Krishna from the early age. They like to go to temple and they are so nice and they are devotee from their childhood itself. Why is this so? Because Paramatma reminds them, oh, you were a devotee, and that's why he created the interest in them. And that's why we are saying that Krishna gives us the remembrance. And we all know that we forget our past life because that is also necessary. So that forgetfulness also is provided by Paramatma by us. And he is giving us knowledge, we all know, through Vedas, through Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So internally, he's seated as Chaitya Guru in our heart, and externally, he gives us the help of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And regarding remembrance, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu says that if we have been given this knowledge, okay, we have a knowledge that we are soul, we are not this body, we have to love and serve Krishna. Okay, we have accumulated this knowledge through help of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastras. But we are not always acting on that platform. We tend to forget. We tend to forget. So if suppose some sense object comes in front of us and we start contemplating on it, we are tempted by this. So we have a desire to enjoy. So that desire develops. But now if we really want to come to that desire and we want to forget the knowledge we have received from Vedas, Krishna says, okay, I will make you forget the knowledge and you just choose what you have chosen and you enjoy. But if we say no to the desire and we say, no, I have received this knowledge, I have to act according to this, and I'm determined to act according to this, then Krishna will give us the remembrance of that knowledge. Krishna is in that way also helping us. So sometimes some may say that then Krishna is responsible for whatever we do. We ourselves are not responsible. But we can understand that we are responsible because we are making the choice. Krishna is only responsive. He responds to our desires. He whatever is there in our mind, why we did that, we will think of that because I only got contemplation, and then the whole cycle, which is mentioned in the verse number 62 and 63 of second verse, it happens. And then after falling down, we may sometimes again remember, oh, next time I will remember the knowledge. So it depends on our own choice. Krishna is definitely giving us remembrance and forgetfulness. Sometimes he wants us to forget the enjoyment we got from desires if we are determined, and sometimes he will make us forget the knowledge and we will come to the desire. So everything is being done by Lord Shri Krishna. And in the second verse, Krishna says that I am the compiler of the Vedas. We all know that Ved Vyas, Krishna Dvaipayan Vyas, he is the compiler of the Vedanta Sutra, and he is the literary incarnation of Krishna. So that's why we can say that Krishna is only the compiler of Vedanta. And at the same time, he's saying, I am the knower of the Vedas. Why? Because we all know that if a book has been written by somebody in the library, the author knows in and out of that book. Nobody else can know. So Krishna is the author of Vedas, so he knows what Veda contain, and we can know that the Vedas are so vast. They contain so many topics, okay, like Karma Kanda section and all these things, and different types of yogas and all these things. But Krishna say a book may contain many things, but we should know what is the main objective or main purpose of that book. Similarly, Krishna is saying, I have given the Vedas and I know all about Vedas, but I am now saying that I am to be known by the Vedas. So the main purpose why I have given these Vedas to you is to ultimate know me. So from the Vedas, I am to be known. So that is the main purpose of the Vedas. Even if we have so many sections in the Vedas about Karma Kanda and Jnana Yoga and Dhyana Yoga and Karma Yoga, but still all these are to be used as steps to climb to the ultimate aim, that is Bhakti Yoga, and to know Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when Krishna says, okay, I have compiled the Vedas, I am to be known by Vedas, and I am the knower of the Vedas. So Arjun might think, okay, what is there in the Vedas? So in the next three shlokas, Krishna gives a very brief summary, essence of the Vedas in three shlokas. And that's why these three shlokas are called as Trishloki Bhagavad Gita. This is Ved Vyas, and we all know Ved Vyas is the son of Parashar Muni and Satyavati. No? So 16 to 18 is summary of the Vedas and the Vedantas. Somebody would like to recite this?
I will recite Mataji.
Yes, Shanfu.
Hare Krishna. Dvau imau purusho loke charaschakshara evacha charaha sarva bhutani charaha sarvani bhutani kutasthokshara uchyate. There are two classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every living entity is called infallible. Bhagavad Gita 15.16.
Thank you, Shanfu. So here it is said that according to Vedas, there are two types of beings. One is fallible, that is Shar, and one is infallible, that is Akshar. Now, we have all learned in the second chapter that a baby boy born, and he grows and his body changes. And there are 6 types of transformation in the body of a living entity. First it takes birth, then it grows, and it has to maintain itself. Then it have byproducts, then it will deteriorate, and finally there is death. So that's why these living entities who are conditioned, they are in the material world, they are bound by the three modes of material nature, and they have a material body. So that's why it seems like the living entity is getting changed, but actually these changes are of the material body. And that's why the conditioned beings, we say nitya baddha. So these are called as conditioned living entities, and they are fallible because their body is changing, their body is prone to die. And the other living entities are infallible. They are the liberated souls. So we are conditioned souls, and there are other living entities who are liberated souls, who are pure souls. And these liberated souls, they are found in the spiritual world. That's why it's said in this verse that in material world, every living entity is fallible, and in spiritual world, every living entity is infallible. But we also know, we have learned from Bhagavad Gita, that some of the living entities, by being in this material world also, they can be called as liberated, because they are not on the material platform. They are fully on the spiritual platform. They are not, and they don't do anything pertaining to this material world. And in spiritual world, definitely, everybody is liberated soul. And we have also, like in the purport, Prabhupada talks about the living entities. As we all know that living entities are eternally separated part and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when they are in contact with the material world, they are called as Jeev Bhuta. And in the Sanskrit, it is called as Shara Sarvani Bhutani, means that they are fallible. Those who are in oneness with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, are called infallible. Oneness does not mean that they have no individuality, but there is no disunity. Means their purpose is same. Of course, in the spiritual world, there is no such thing as creation, but since the Supreme Personality of Godhead has stated in the Vedanta Sutra, it is the source of all emanations, that conception is explained here. Okay, so Prabhupada wants to explain this here, that the liberated souls, they have oneness with Krishna. Why oneness? It doesn't mean that they have merged in Krishna or they have become one. Oneness, we have already explained you so many times, that oneness means they are same in quality with Krishna. In quantity, a small part cannot be equal to whole. So we will always maintain our individuality even in the spiritual world when we have a spiritual body. We don't have a material body in the spiritual world. That's why we are called as infallible there. And but still we have our own individual relationship with Krishna, and that's why it is called there is no disunity. Why no disunity? Because the purpose is to love and serve Krishna. And that's why here it has been explained, we should always know that they will always be eternally part and parcel of Krishna. They cannot be equal to Krishna at any point. So there are two kinds of living entities. And in the next verse, Krishna says that beyond this, super soul is there, who is beyond the Shara and Akshara. Somebody would like to recite this verse?
I'll
I'll
recite.
read Mataji.
Yes.
Yeah, Lavannaji, please, you can continue.
Thank you. Uttamaha Purushasthanmaha Paramatmetyudahutaha Yo Lokatrayamavishya Bibatyavyaya Ishvaraha. Besides these two, there is the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord Himself, who has entered the three worlds and is maintaining them.
Thank you, Lavanyaji. So, besides these two, who is their greatest living personality? The Supreme Soul. So, He is supreme. He is not, He is beyond any kind of soul, whether it may be liberated, whether it is conditioned. He is imperishable, Supreme Lord Himself. And we all know how He enters the three world in form of Shirodakshai, Garbhodakshai and Mahavishnu, and is responsible for maintaining that. We have learned about Paramatma before also, that He is the overseer, He's the permitter, he's the maintainer, he's the controller of all our activities. So there will always a difference between the soul and the super soul. They cannot be one at any point. There will be oneness in quality, but not in quantity. So that is the message here from the essence of Bhagavad Gita. So what about Paramatma? Prabhupada says he gives references from Katha Upanishad and Shvetashar Upanishad. It is clearly stated there that above the innumerable living entities, some of whom are conditioned and some of whom are liberated, there is the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is Paramatma. The Upanishadic verse runs as follows. Nityo Nityanam Chetnas Chetnanam. The purport is that amongst all the living entities, both conditioned and liberated, there is one supreme living personality, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is maintaining them and gives them all the facilities of enjoyment according to their different work. And that Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. A wise man who can understand him as person, as Paramatma in our heart, is eligible to attain perfect peace, not others. So this is from Prabhupada. And after discussing about the two living entities and after discussing about the Paramatma aspect, now in the next verse, Krishna gives the final verdict that he is the supreme person. He is the Uttam person. That is, he is the Purushottama. So Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord. So Deepak Prabhu, you want to recite?
Yeah, Mataji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yasmaksharam atitoham aksharat api chotama atosmi loke vedecha pratita purushottama. Because I am transcendental, beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that supreme person. Thank you.
So now we can see that this is the final verdict, and here is the word used as Purushottama, and that's it. That's why this chapter is called as Purushottama Yoga, or the Yoga of the Supreme Person, because this is the final essence of Veda, that I am transcendental. I am beyond the fallible and infallible living entities. I am the greatest of all. So no one is superior to me. I am the Lord of this universe. I am maintaining each and every aspect of this universe, and that's why I am celebrated both in this world and in the Vedas as that supreme person. So here Krishna is declaring that he is not impersonal. He is a person, and he is the Uttam person. He is the topmost. He is the supreme person. So that's why these three verses are called as the essence of the Vedas, or the summary of the Vedas. And after describing the essence of Vedas, in the 19th and 20th verse, Krishna says, if somebody knows Krishna, they knows the essence of the Vedas, they know the purpose of the Vedas is to know Krishna and to perform bhakti yoga, that is devotional service, means he knows everything. Nothing more he requires to be known. Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting, so that there should be full faith. No doubt should be there. Asamshayam samagram. So there should be no doubt. He is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. So after giving all this knowledge, again, Krishna is saying that if somebody comes to know that I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead, therefore, what will he do? He will engage himself in full devotional service, O son of Bharata. And in the last verse of this chapter, Krishna says, whatever I've told you now, this is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures. O sinless one. So this O sinless one is Anaga. in the verse in Sanskrit. And this is being used by Krishna for Arjuna. And why he is using this word? Because he wants to highlight that if somebody is not sinless, somebody is not purified of his all material contaminations, then he cannot know this confidential part of the Vedic scriptures. So to understand Vedas, to know Krishna, we have to purify ourselves of all the material sinful propensities. But at the same time, we all know that once we start devotional service, all our sinful tendencies will slowly and slowly wash out, and we will become purified. Our heart will become purified by engaging in devotional service. And then we can surrender unto Lord Shri Krishna. So whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. So whoever is eligible to know this confidential part of the Vedas, the essence of the Vedas, Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the most wise person, and whatever he tries, he endeavors, he will achieve success, he will achieve perfection. How? He will be eligible to go back to Krishna. So that is the final verse of this chapter. It was an easy and simple section, and only 8 verses. If somebody wants to discuss, comment something, we can. Okay. So can we end this session, or some questions or comments? Most probably 16th chapter has only one session. Full 16th chapter we'll cover in one session next time.
Mataji,
Yes, Prabhuji.
I'm just going through that 15th chapter, 2nd verse.
Okay.
So in that, there is a description that the twigs of the tree are considered to be the sense objects in the purport.
Yes, yes.
And also it was also said the tips of branches are the senses. And also after that, the subsidiary roots are attachments and aversions, which are byproducts of different varieties of suffering and sense. So how these twigs of the trees are compared to the sense objects, and also the tips of the branches are senses. So how does it correlate to the senses and sense objects?
Actually, while discussing this, I've heard that it might be very difficult for us to understand how the different parts have been compared to different parts of our material world. Like we require sense objects, we require senses to interact in this material world, to do our activities, and that are the responsible for our bondage, whatever fruitive actions we perform. So it is like it. We have already discussed that this is a very complex tree, and how our acharyas or how Krishna wants to correlate it with any part of the tree, it may be very technically not possible for us to learn. But the basic message behind comparing this material world, this upside down tree, and like it will be very complex, like how can the branches will be compared with the planetary system, and the roots are then very separate roots again. Why only twigs are compared to sense objects? So if we don't go behind the technicalities, the main message is this only, that this material world is very complex. So instead of trying to understand it, try to discover the path by which you can get out of it. So that part is more important than trying to understand this tree. This only, like Chaitanya Prabhu also, I heard he was also saying like that, where instead of trying to figure it out, try to get out of it. So as it has been mentioned in the like translation of this verse, we cannot dig behind why only the twigs are compared to object of senses, but we can only say that it has been compared like that.
Yeah, the reason why I'm saying is, see, these are this material banyan, that is inverted banyan tree, is nourished by 3 modes of material nature, right? So the existence of that banyan tree itself is due to the three modes of material nature. Because of that,
We have
we are
come in contact with it.
entangled, and yeah, somewhere we can correlate, but some places we are not able to.
Sometimes it's
There is no enough knowledge points. I mean, maybe from the previous references or something like that.
Maybe if we go very deep studies of the Vedas and all, sometimes we can understand this. But yes, definitely we have to just understand why this tree is existing, because we have come in contact with these three modes of material. They are nourishing this material tree, and there are so many sense objects, and our body is made up of so many senses, and we are interacting with that, and that's why we are deepening our roots attachment to this material world, and we are not able to get out of it. So that is the thing. But when I was also reading, I also found that why this is so, but this has been given explanation in all the other commentaries also. Like it has been translated like this only. So we can understand it as it is. Like we can just remember it. That only we can do.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.